All right, we're going to go now on creating side-by-side box plots. So I've already done my filters, 60 to 64, making more than $1, and employed. And now I'm going to go to box plots. So plots, box plot, variable, wages, group by, sex, and horizontal orientation. Overlay points or not is your choice. Usually when there's a lot of points, I tend not to use them because it's a lot of points. It's nice though. I think it is very visual. So that's always a benefit, the visuality of the points. It's more concrete. We can actually see individuals, what they're reporting. You can see a high density at 300,000, high density at 200,000. Looks like there's a lot more density of men over here at the 627 number. So there's things that we can notice. Definitely see like fewer women in this region. There's a lot more men in this region. But that tends to, some people kind of don't like how kind of just how busy it is with all the points. So sometimes we like to simplify the analysis and just show it like such. What we see here when we look at the box plots, what we're primarily looking at is overlap between the two box plots. And we're kind of looking at like the location of where like the Q1 is relative to the other Q1 and the median is to the other median in Q3. So we noticed in the summary statistics the Q3s were very different, 163 versus 100, and definitely like you see that very prominently. It almost looks like if you think about this, like this is 75% of the women make $100,000 or less. For the men, we hit the 50 mark right here, but we don't hit the 75 mark until we get to 173. So if we just look at, the 50th percentile to the 75th percentile, these are just like, this is kind of like the upper middle. You call this the lower middle, is like the 25% to the 50 and the 50 to the 75. And then you got the last quartile. This is the top quartile. This is the top 25% of earners. So the top 25% of earners, if you're a woman, starts at 100, but it starts at 173 if you're a man. We also see like this middle 50, or if you think about the total middle 50, this is like, in some ways this is sort of like, this is very common, 46 to 163. It's a very large range. If you start, this is the start of it at the first quartile. 25% of the men are making less than 46,000. But then you got 50% of the people in here, and you look at the women, the 50% is more compressed. It starts at 32 and it only goes to 100. So we definitely see like this box it's been shrunk, it's been compressed, and it's been shifted to the left dramatically on the far right edge. The left edge isn't that much of a difference, 32 versus 46. And then the median's a little more of a shift, 85 to 60. But I think at the end of the day, what I kind of notice, if you look at this box, like the halfway point in this box looks like it's right at 100, kind of. Well, that's the entire female box is less than 100,000. So we're definitely seeing a difference between men and women. We see a lot more variability in the wages of men than the variability of wages in women. We talk about this as the interquartile range. This is the length between Q1 and Q3. It talks about how much variation or how much spread there is between the 25th percentile and the 75th percentile. Here the spreads only goes from 32 to 100. 50% of my sample of women have wages between 32,000 and 100,000. For the men though, you got 50% of the men are between 46,000 and 163. So there's quite a bit more variability here for the men. And I don't know, that's really all you can really see on the box plots. The box plots are really like kind of a really condensed view of the wages. It only gives us Q1, median, Q3. It exists the upper and the fences, but I don't really do too much with the fences. The fences do not become much of the conversation point. You can see like women outliers start at 200,000, men outliers start at 334. But that's really more a feature of the variation of this box. Because remember, the whisker is typically 1.5 times the length of the box. So it doesn't really mean that much to say, oh, outliers start here or outliers start here. That's not really the consideration. It's more about where these boxes lie. What you're looking for is how much overlap there is or how much overlap there isn't, or like, where, and seeing like how far does the Q3 go compared to the other Q3. Because it means, it means like 75% of people, for women, make less than 100,000, but for men, that 75% line doesn't reach us until we get to 163. So there's a lot more going on. And I would go back and say, we could look at the histograms to tell us a little bit better of the story, because usually we work these two together. It's always like the histograms and the box plots help each other out telling the story. So remember this, I did 0, I did 20,000 here, and I went to 700,000 here, and I did density. So we kind of put these two together, and you can kind of see the story. Here's like, that 163, like, so the men, the orange, we're not even in the 75% line until we get to like around here. For women, we've already hit the 75% line right at like 100,000. And you see only 25% of the women are making more than 100,000. But for men, it's much, you can see there's greater density past 100,000 than it is for women. All right.